So if you were at the Malaysia Auto Show this year, you probably would have seen this, the Chery Tiggo Cross. And boom, just like that, we're at the launch 2 weeks later of the Chery Tiggo Cross, the new smallest SUV in the Chery range that packs a big punch in a small package. Seriously, it does look small. It kind of splits the difference between the Perodua Ativa or Honda WRV and the slightly larger X50 and Omoda 5, leaning closer in dimensions to the Proton and that bigger Chery model. That said, the Tiggo Cross is a little bit taller, a bit wider, and has a longer 10mm wheelbase advantage over the X50. There'll be two variants, the Turbo, the 1.5 Turbo, going for 88.9 thousand ringgit, and the Hybrid, now the cheapest hybrid in Malaysia, at just 99.8 thousand ringgit. And for a little context, the previous least expensive hybrid in Malaysia, the City EHEV, costed 112,000 ringgit, and this one is, well, my bad is maths, so a lot less than that. But how are they exactly different? To tell you more about that, here's Jim from 2 weeks ago when I had some one-on-one time with both the 1.5 Turbo and the Hybrid. Tell you. Starting with what's under the bonnet. Look at that, it's got struts. Now this has a 1.5 litre turbocharged 4-cylinder engine, 147 PS and 210 Newton meters, which in a small SUV like this, around 1.5 tons, sounds like a lot of poke. In fact, this engine does sound to me like a detuned, slightly detuned Omoda 5 engine. But if it's the extra punch that you want, this is arguably the most interesting of the two variants because this is a hybrid. When it launches, it'll be the most affordable hybrid in Malaysia. 1.5 litre normally aspirated 4-cylinder with 102 PS and 125 Newton meters by itself, integrated with two electric motors for 204 PS and 310 Newton meters. That is the final output, which is pretty close to the Civic EHEV RS. It gets 5.4 liters per 100 kilometers, or so says Chery. On the outside, the Tiggo Cross probably won't turn many heads, but it does look like a decent, vehicle. Interestingly, the more powerful and pricier HEV gets smaller 17-inch wheels versus the 18-inch wheels on the 1.5 Turbo. But other than that, they are all the same. Both variants are listed with LED headlamps, LED DRLs, taillights, roof rails, rear spoiler, of course, and the badges are a bit different too, but only the petrol says Tiggo Cross, the other one says Tiggo Cross Hybrid. No matter which variant you get, both of them are either not Kosong spec at all because they come with a lot of toys, a lot of features for the money, because you get a full leatherette interior, 2 times a 10.25-inch screen, Apple CarPlay, Android Auto, wireless, built-in already, 6 speakers all around, ambient lighting, you get a wireless charger down there, only for the Hybrid by the way, and dual-zone climate control, and no sunroof. Now, boot space. This being the hybrid variant, it does have a higher load floor, which means 340 liters of space. If you get the 1.5 Turbo, you get a lower load floor and 380 liters of space. Now that's more like it. The only thing that is missing is a power boot. Honestly, there's just two things separating the Turbo and the hybrid on the inside: the key fob design and the steering wheel. When it comes to things you can't really see, there's more stuff to the hybrid. 1 extra airbag totaling 7. There's also more features added to the active safety suite, like door opening warning, rear collision warning, rear cross traffic braking, rear cross traffic warning, lane chase assist, emergency lane keeping, traffic jam assist, integrated cruise control, and smart vehicle speed. In the back is where you can actually see that this car leans more toward the size of the X50 and not the Ativa/Honda WRV. In the back, it's pretty spacious, lots of headroom, pretty generous. Knee room, maybe you gotta get someone who's not 6'5" driving the car and you'd be okay with headroom. You get 1 central air conditioning vent, very Chery-like, very J-Cool-like as well over here. 1 USB-A, and generally a very nice feeling cabin. These leatherette seats are very nice, they feel good amount of recline to it, and there's barely any center tunnel whatsoever. It might as well be an EV with how flat the floor is, but how good is it to drive? Well, back to Jim from 2 weeks ago again to tell you how good it is to drive, mostly the HEV. So the first thing I gotta say is that it's kind of weird driving a hybrid so small. And the camera system is really quite clear as well because, well, it's Chery, probably the same ones that they're using for larger SUVs, but yeah, very clear. The reason why I want to drive the hybrid more than the Turbo is that I'm assuming that the Turbo will drive very much like the Omoda 5. The little time that I had with the Turbo kind of gave me that Omoda 5 impression. This one, very smooth. very, very smooth. And because of that quietness, the NVH levels, or the perceived NVH levels, is going to be much, much better in the HEV. And it has somehow 204 PS and 310 Newton meters of torque, which is more than the Civic RS eHEV. Well, not more torque, but definitely more power, peak power. Okay, I got a bit of straightaway over here. Foot down. Okay. Bit of shove, and then the engine comes on, and it comes on pretty smoothly too. The sensation is very much like a Honda, guys, because it uses the electric motor as a generator. So you have the electric motor come on to supplement, to get more voltage and more energy into the 1.9 kilowatt hour electric battery, and then that goes to the traction motor, 204 PS, 310 Newton meters. So yeah, that's how it works. But the thing is, I know when I was driving the 1.5 liter eHEV, like in the city, that transition between being fully electric and coming on with the engine, that is noticeable because the engine can be quite groany and a bit harsh sounding. This one, no. This one, it is in the background, you can notice it, but it's not, it's not that, it doesn't disturb you, let's just say. Steering feel very numb. Throttle response, well, it's different because it's a hybrid, right? So you don't have the normal kind of like connected to an engine feel, but it's not quite the feel of an EV either, because it's not quite instantaneous, but it's a mix. I think I feel a drag race coming on, because when this car launches, 8.9 seconds 0 to 100, I want to put it up against the petrol version. I want to put it up against maybe a Tiggo 7, because it has the exact same power, but more torque in this car, and it's lighter. Even though it's completely irrelevant, anybody who buys an SUV like this doesn't really look forward to drag racing their friend in a Tiggo or a J Coupe. But why not? Because you save fuel in this car and you get more performance. So yeah, one more hit from Chery. I mean, it looks to be. The price seems right, very right. And there's a lot of everyday versatility advantages to the hybrid system, which at first drive operates in very similar fashion to Honda's iMMD. The Japanese system does have more power though. Definitely feels sportier and more responsive despite having less power on paper at least. The numbers are higher in the Tiggo but isn't commensurate with the experience behind the wheel. So what do you guys think? Does this sound like the perfect hybrid for those dipping their toe into electrification and hybrid cars? It seems like it. Does it seem like another hit from Chery? Could be. What do you think of the price? What do you think of the look? What do you think of the interior? Let us know in the comments.